Okay, so it's been a little bit since I recorded the first part of this, in which I took these two stacks and I shoved them into Spain as my final act in this campaign. But I loaded up my save file from right before then, and I just wanted to talk about a few of the things in this campaign that I would have probably done differently, some stuff I would have done the same, and also just some general observations. Let's see. So whenever I started doing this campaign, the way that the centralization versus decentralization worked was completely different. Nowadays, you get minus loyalty of subjects from centralization, and you get loyalty from decentralization, as well as satisfaction equilibrium. So nowadays, I'd probably go with decentralization when playing a colonial nation, just because of all of the subjects you have. I gave them a lot, or I kind of consolidated a lot of my subjects over here into the viceroyalty of Sao Cubabo, which is we'll get to that. That's a special little thing. But in terms of my values, I really needed to. Now that this change has been put into effect, it would have probably kind of bricked my playthrough a little bit. Especially, it probably would have been very hard to keep Sao Cubabo as my loyal vassal, especially considering its size is kind of prohibitive, and it makes it a little bit harder for me to get that loyalty from it. Also, whenever I loaded up this save, like a bunch of the names broke, so that's a lot of fun. But, okay, back to the values. Things I would do different. I would definitely go for decentralization, just because I was playing a very subject-heavy game the entire time. Innovative's fine, humanist is fine. I kind of wish I would have went for plutocracy for the trade efficiency, just so that way I wouldn't have had any... it would have been more money in the end. It would have helped me expand as Portugal. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait, I was Portugal that entire time. Anyway. Okay. Mercantilism, I think it did work here. I think I'd say it worked well here. I was mostly concerned with the performance of the markets over here and protecting the markets over here. A lot of the stuff up here in this, in Sao Cubabo is not with my own market, but a very large portion, like Magoric's market has, there's like a lot of gold and precious metals in here. Tucapita, there's a bunch of precious metals in here. And then I have my own, this is also my market. There's some gold up in here that I took. Anyways, values. I probably would have went, I think going belligerent was fine. I should have made like a stronger push in quantity versus quality. I think that it probably would have been better in my case, where I was mostly using like professional soldiers. Probably quality would have been better just for the morale and the tactics recovery. Also, the initiative would be very, very, very nice. But that's neither here nor there. I was kind of more worried about getting declared on the whole game, so I did lean defensive, but I should have went a little bit more hard into the defensive. And then here's the biggest mistake. I really should have gone like pushed for naval, because this would have been so useful. I barely have any land in my society. It doesn't need a lot of help. The trade range over land. It doesn't even have to go that far. I needed to go heavier on naval. It would have made me so much more money. And then individualism versus communalism. I mean, I think it's fine. I think you probably want individualism just for the migration speed. And then outward, I mean, obviously you want outward for the power projection, for the colonialism, for the colonial migration. And then I ended up going absolutism, just for the power, and I survived the crisis. in this playthrough, I did not end the crisis early. I ended up actually just letting it pass via just the 20 years going by, which was painful. But considering that I would be losing out on the crown power of a peer from centralization, I'd probably want to go ahead and take it down here, just for that reason. As nice as the satisfaction and the culture capacity would be, the bonuses of absolutism are just, they're so good. If I was like really running into problems with satisfaction equilibriums, I would probably take liberalism, which I am running into here, but that's just you know, a short-term problem that I've created, and it's like it's the end of the game anyway. Who gives a shit? Okay. Now, if I go back, let me go back to an earlier save. Here you go. I am Colonial Cancer. So at this point, let me actually change my... why is my keyboard not working? Hello? Keyboard? Oh, that was weird. My keyboard stopped working for a second. Anyway, I don't know why it shows these names up here, but this is what it ends up being in this save. But this is kind of the early days of Saukubabo. The reason I picked this spot was because of the amount of gold that is here. Gold, amber, it's like a beefed up amber mine too. Sturdy grains, like just lots of really good resources packed into this island, and then also into this island as well. So that creates a very ideal situation for you to go ahead and get in there and start making some mischief. Now, what I would have done differently in terms of my colony placement, I definitely would have continued starting off with Saukubaba right here, but I think instead of expanding down here at the bottom, which I did end up expanding down here because there was gold. Of course I did, because there was gold. But I probably should have dotted, especially in this early stage when nobody's there, I should have dotted like 2 or 3 colonies along the coast here, and then just kind of seen how they sprouted over time, because we saw how big Saukubabo gets. It's actually kind of insane how big it gets. It's kind of concerning almost that it is not considered an empire in and of itself. It cannot be a subject anymore if it wants to become a kingdom. But minus the papal, besides the papal state's opinion, and you know, that being an issue, we would be able to make this into an empire. And it's kind of crazy that the AI was able to kind of carve this out all by itself. Like, this was... I was giving Antillas, which this was called, instead of Saukubaba, it was called Antillas at the time. I was giving Antillas military support for most of its existence, which probably helped a little bit with this. But it started by... I started on just this island over here, which I believe is Haiti, if I'm remembering correctly. Areas. Or Hispaniola and Cuba. I started on an Hispaniola, and then the AI populated Cuba itself, and then I created a vassal, or I created a different colony of Florida, and then I ended up giving it to Antillas. But Antillas started expanding primarily over here first. It actually just piggy hopped right over here, and it took this over and just never stopped going up. It never stopped going up. It just said, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm never gonna stop going up. Now, are the populations of these areas especially high? No, not at all. But what you can say about these areas is that they do have a decent, like, average amount of population. Like, it's not like nobody lives in these places at all. And also, like, a lot of these places will give great, like, RGOs and such. Now the question is, what does the proximity map look like? Oh my god. So you're not getting much control on stuff up here. But the fact that you have this much land at all, with this much control this far away from the capital, I mean, the capital's not even on the same, like, landmass, and you're able to get this much control in these far-off areas, which is, I mean, relatively impressive. Now, are all these RGOs incredibly developed? No. But they are wherever it kind of matters. I mean, you know what RGO is developed? No, it's not. Oh my god. Wait, maybe I should have been monitoring their gold RGOs much more closely. But also, the coffers of this nation are crazy. The trading, like, the control of having these, like, 2 gold things and then owning, like, most of this, just insane. Just owning most of North America, just insane. I believe this was Polish, Polish Canada. That was a big player. But Saxony snuck up in here, and Georgia is doing something goofy, or Saxony, another Saxon construction. We have Spanish Alaska, everybody's favorite. But in terms of other places I expanded down here to this, I think it was called Bahia before I took it into Portugal itself. I conquered it, or I colonized it. It was not conquered yet. And then this silly little Brazilian, papal Brazilians, they eventually got independence from the Pope, but they want this area because of the beautiful, beautiful resources that are held therein. I mean, it looks like Antilos has lost to war, or wait, I've lost that somehow. Whatever. But I gave this to myself instead of a vassal after a while of having revolt problems. Let's see what San Cubabo's control looks like down here. I mean, that's impressive, considering where it is. I mean, that's just like integrated territory. You know? It's huge. It's gigantic, you could say. Now, the crazy part is that because this country is significantly larger than Portugal itself. Portugal is only a 2.4 million pop country. Part of the reason for that is because I was constantly pumping pops over to the New World for all of these colonies and all of that stuff. But that definitely did not help my Portugal population, but here, this is just insane to me. Like, the amount of population that has just sprung up from here out of, like, from 12k at the beginning to, like, 15 mil almost. Well, it's down now, but at the peak, before I think some wave of diseases came by, it probably was, like, I don't know what wave of diseases it was, but looks like they didn't build enough. Well, it's probably all of these. Portugal, that bastard. I was also subsidizing this colony the entire time. That was a piece of the puzzle. Oh my god, it's a little loud. But I was kind of subsidizing. Oh, that was glitched out. That was glitched out as hell. But I also subsidized San Cubabo with, I think it was like 20 ducats a month for a very large portion of its upcoming. So that probably also helped it kind of get up and running to some extent. In terms of navally, we're not much of a power, but we have got a lot of soldiers. We're in a couple wars, but these are just like little colonial squabbles. Yeah, over here with some of Spain's stuff. Over here with Orinoco. Little piece of shit Orinoco. But I think that about covers it for right there. I guess my main regret in terms of how I did this colonization was that maybe like I didn't like drop one colony right here on like the East Coast and then really like maybe colonize some more territory up here just to like carve off like a spot for myself, but or for the colony's sake. But I feel like I really could have easily colonized the entirety of the US if I was just like a little bit more thoughtful about how I did it. This time I was just like seeing how it worked. Like I didn't know that my colonies could colonize further themselves. Like I didn't know a lot of that stuff. And then also another thing I did not do well is my pathing in the earlier part of the game. Like I think let's skip back to like 1435. I'm probably not even gonna have discovered the New World yet. Partially because I mean I didn't like do my I feel like I pathed my explorations very badly. I don't feel like I went to the places that would lead me to where I wanted to colonize fast enough. Yeah, here I spent a lot of time exploring like the Ghana area, and I feel like I should have spent more time doing other things that might get me closer. I think I do have to explore the coastline a little bit more, but there's a certain point where it diverges from what you need to do to try to discover the Americas. And I just needed to do that a little bit sooner as well. That would have helped. Probably would have helped. But yeah, I think that's like the primary stuff that I was kind of concerned about or wanted to talk about. So I guess the main like summary is that in terms of values, I needed to push a lot harder for decentralization. I needed to push a lot harder for plutocracy. I needed to push a lot harder for probably quality, and also especially naval. I also needed to make sure, I think I did by the end, but capital economy would be really good here. Just because it's a highly urbanized nation. The traditional economy is not as good whenever you're working with lots of buildings, especially that production efficiency is just disgusting. And then I would colonize along the east coast of the U.S. a bit earlier before a lot of the other powers start playing around in here. I would definitely make more colonies earlier. I would say just to my own population back in Portugal, because I had a pretty stable relationship with Spain for most of the game. So I think I'd drop more colonies, and then I'd probably have the majority of North America instead of just like an incredibly large chunk. And then I think things that I would keep the same would be expanding into Hispaniola first, and then I would work through the rest of the places I wanted to colonize. Maybe I would stay out of South America or North America and just focus on one of the two. I think that might be an interesting avenue to pursue next time. But even though I do say that, the gold down here was nice. The gold that I got from coming down here was nice. I think that about covers all of the everything I wanted to talk about. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, drop a like and have a good one.